Well, Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton removed Democratic caucus members from the committees and subcommittees. During the special session regarding redistricting Tennessee's congressional map, Democratic lawmakers were linking arms and demonstrating opposition to the redistricting legislation on the House floor. Speaker Sexton is now reprimanding Democratic caucus members by removing them from committees and subcommittees. He gave notice of those removals in a letter. Memphis Representatives House Minority Leader Karen Camper, Justin J. Pearson, and Gabby Salinas all receiving notice. Sexton's reasoning included interlocking arms in the well of the House, blocking aisles on the House floor, instigating and encouraging disruptions, the use of prohibited props, lack of respect for fellow members, and flagrant disregard for the permanent rules of order. Representative Pearson posted his letter on Facebook. It was pretty short and straight to the point, just saying you've been removed from all House standing committees and subcommittees. So here's what Representative Pearson said in our one-on-one interview this week, followed by State Senator Brent Taylor's response.
By taking away mostly black folks and all Democrats off of these committees, it is again a consolidation and a wielding of power by this authoritarian regime that we have elected in people like Cameron Sexton, who believes that his power is somehow absolute, and thus he can take away nearly 2 million people's representation from these very important committees, whether it be government ops or finance committees, where we serve, where we offer insights and questions on behalf of our caucuses, on behalf of our constituents. And so by saying you all no longer get that representation, it means all white Republican men primarily are going to continue to serve on these committees.
I probably would have made a similar decision had I been Speaker of the House. There will be punishment for those members in the Senate. We move a little bit slower than the House does, but before the legislature reconvenes, those senators will be reprimanded in some sort of way and probably will lose their parking privileges in the state garage. They could lose their committee assignments. They could lose their offices.
So I'll open this up to Melanie. Was that the right move by House Speaker Sexton?
Exactly, because that show of what they did was very inappropriate. It was disrespectful, and it made us look bad across the world stage. So yes, he had to do something or show that we don't accept it or we don't condone that kind of behavior, and I think he did right. And then at the same time too, it's not like being in a particular district that a lot of bills are passed or a lot of work is done. It's just, you know, a whole lot of deflection from actually the work that should be done. So yes, he did the right thing.
Now, Lane, I'll ask you, when you make big demonstrations like that, you get the national attention's eye. So, you know, arguably if your constituents are voicing to you that this is an injustice, you know, you push people to a certain level, then they're going to have to do more. What else could they have done, I guess is my question. They felt like they needed to rise to this level, but was there another way they could have made effective change?
No, look, people lose votes on the floor of the House every day. There are members who bring legislation that fail in committee, that fails on the floor of the House and the Senate, and people don't make demonstrations. Both chambers have rules of decorum, rules of behavior. Every member knows what those are. They go through training after their election before they actually ever serve on a floor session, so they know what they can do and what they can't do, and people lose votes. Look, Barack Obama famously said, well, if you don't like the outcome, then go out and win an election. Well, apparently Democrats in Tennessee need to go out and win an election for a state office because they're not getting their way because there aren't enough of them. And so, you know, the Speaker took the only action I think he could have taken here, which is to say to remove them from their committees. And let's remember, for a second, they're not removed from their committees during the legislative session next year. They are removed from their committees between now and the November election. They'll be back on committees come January when the legislature comes back into session. So the practical effect is pretty limited during the summer and the autumn because very few committees meet. The Government Operations Committee that Representative Pearson mentioned meets every month. But other than that, there's very little committee work that's going to take place between now and the time a new legislature is seated.
Okay, so Otis, you know, to that point, just context here, is it minimal having the everyday voter just understand what not being a part of committees means?
Well, I mean, I don't think the everyday voter cares. And Lane is right. I mean, there's no practical effect of this, which means there was no need to even do it in the first place except to punish somebody. And to say that it gives the state of Tennessee a bad look, well, the whole thing gave Tennessee a bad look. You can't imagine what people are saying about the state redistricting in the middle of a decade when you have a state law that says you're not supposed to do it, and then making a fib, and I'm using that word kindly here, to say that, well, we had to do it because the Supreme Court told us to do it. No, they did not. The Supreme Court ruling out of Louisiana did not order the state of Tennessee to redistrict. If it had, then why isn't Mississippi redistricting? Why isn't South Carolina redistricting?
No, there's a reason for that.
Well, the reason is there is no reason for Tennessee to have done it except for a power grab that takes us back to where we were when I was a child.
I would say there is a reason for this. The Supreme Court, when they made the Louisiana ruling, which is what this centers on, basically said you cannot draw districts using race as a factor when you draw the districts. Thus, that made Tennessee 9 out of compliance with the Supreme Court ruling. The difference between Tennessee and Mississippi is Mississippi's already had their primary this year. They had their primary in March, so there are already Republican and Democrat nominees who are facing off an election in November. In Tennessee, we still had enough time prior to the August primary to be able to redraw the lines and reopen the filing period, which is what the state did.
You did not have enough time back in 2022. The state argued that, well, and that was in April, and said, well, we don't have time to go back to the districts when we chopped up Nashville. But now you got more time. I think the whole thing is a travesty for getting rid of the 9th Congressional District, and you did it obviously for political reasons, but it was for racial reasons as well.
Mic drop moment, I guess, on that one. Good back and forth there, but, you know, the argument does still stand as it does. All right, when we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit to crime. Two incidents we're going to focus on that has two different sides of officer-involved shootings. We'll be right back.